Welcome to the What's Your Deal podcast, where we discuss business acquisitions, investments, management, and exit strategies. I'm your host, Matt Euler. Let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of What's Your Deal. I'm joined today by a friend of mine, Cristian Cruz. Cristian and I met through Aspire, which is a business tour company. Cristian had joined that organization to learn more about investing and wealth building and acquiring businesses. And one of the things that I've enjoyed so much about Cristian, he's been very active in trying to pursue how to buy a business. And his story is fascinating. We deal with lots of people through AMPT that are looking to achieve the same outcome that Cristian is. But one of the things that I found so fascinating about him is that he is so serious about it that he left his full-time career, which I'll let him explain a little bit more about, in order to continue this pursuit. So I think we'll have lots of insight from what he's willing to share with us about his process and what his direction is and outcome and motivation. So Cristian, thank you for joining us.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me, Matt. Pleasure.
Absolutely. And Cristian lives in Florida, so we're excited to have this interaction verbally today.
Yes, sir. The Sunshine State.
Yeah. So can you walk us through your process a little bit? And part of what I'm excited to learn more about is what it is that motivates you. Why business ownership? You had a career, which I'd love it if you would describe a little bit, but you had a career that most people would dream of at a young age, that secure until retirement. You surrendered that to pursue buying a business. Walk us through that, if you would.
Yeah. So just coming out of high school here, trying to find what that pathway looked like. I settled pretty quickly on becoming a fireman, right? The firefighter paramedic route here in South Florida. And they pretty much require you to have the firefighter as well as paramedicine or some type of medical background in order to get picked up by one of these departments here. Mm-hmm. So at the age of 21, I got picked up by Miami Fire Rescue, and that for me was what they like to call pretty much winning the lottery, right? I mean, especially at that age, because the individuals that I got hired with were 27, 28, 30, 35. So I was of the youngest of my class, and I got picked up pretty quickly. So everybody around you was like, hey, kid, you won the lottery.
You made it.
You got in, you made it. I mean, you do 25, 30 years, you're still going to be relatively young. Well, by the time that the pension comes in and you retire, you're pretty much set, right? And in my head, as a 21-year-old, I'm like, man, I'm extremely grateful. And the job itself provided me with a lot of benefits, a lot of things that I learned through it, and overall extremely grateful to it. Now, as the job progressed itself, right, into being a fireman, etc., it, like I said, taught me many things. The one thing I always felt inside was lacking was like, I felt like I could do more, or at least there was more outside of myself, where in the job itself, you do have a significant amount of off time, right? You would be working 24 hours and then you were off 48, right? Mm-hmm. You'd be at the station a full day and then you're off 2. So there was always time where I'm like, okay, there's only so much, like gym time and going out and this and that, and that you can do, where I'm like, all right, what's really the next step, right? What can I do? And then I'm like, okay, maybe I can start a business. Maybe I can. And so I started looking around, asking friends, seeing what they're doing, look at individuals. I'm like, all right. So I started looking into starting my first business, what everybody does, right? They're mm-hmm. like, start my LLC. I'm going to start getting going. What should I do? I'm a young kid. I'm 22, 23 at that moment. What else can I do? And I got into credit repair. That was my first business. Got that up. It was as low overhead as you can think of, mm-hmm. right? It's online. You learn. I found it very beneficial because I would learn about credit. The credit system is huge in the U.S. And I found that was like my dipping my feet in the water, right? Mm-hmm. For business itself. And then, as every business owner does, as soon as you start, you realize you're like, man, this is this business thing. Once you file away all these paperwork, it's like, when does the money start rolling in? This greatness of entrepreneurship, when does this start to pay dividends? And that's something you start to realize very quickly. And then I like the challenge of it. That's the entrepreneurship. And then fast forward, right, a couple years in the job, I ended up doing 5 years. And then last year, around August time, I decided to leave that behind and then go into full time. What I got into it with a business partner was acquiring capital for businesses.
Okay.
So what we would do was acquire 0% interest capital, pretty much fancy for saying business credit cards for businesses at any stage that would have no interest for a year to year and a half, and they would use it to for anything they needed to scale. And that was the business that allowed me to make the jump from not 9 to 5, but the W-2 pension
Yes.
into the realm of like go out and hunt for your own food, right? Like there's no secure paycheck type thing, right? And that was the jump. And then I guess I'll let you in on one conversation that if I guess anybody that's listening ever went through it is like, if you're thinking of making that jump, and I had several individuals, right, older than I was, that have, I guess, experienced life a little more, right? They're like, hey, kid, do you know what you're doing? I see you put in your 2 weeks. You're leaving behind a pension. You're leaving behind security, and that it's a scary thing. I mean, we as humans, I believe, we crave some type of security, some type of somewhere where we can settle down and create home, quote unquote. And they're like, it's risky, right? Like what you're doing is extremely risky. And the only thing that crossed my mind after, pondering the thought and seeing, hey, do I really want to do this is at the end of the day, everything you do is going to incur a level of risk, right? For me, with that job, the risk was putting my life there at risk every time I went on shift. Meaning I could have had a building fire that day. I could have had something that was extremely risky for me that I might have not made it home the next day, right? And that is a level of physical risk that I was taking every time I went on shift. It's the reality of the job, right? And then there's that risk of now it's not physical in a sense, right? But now it's the uncertainty. It's the roller coaster of not a secure paycheck coming in the door per se.
Yeah.
Right. So there's both levels of risk, and when I weighed out the risk to reward ratio, what I saw what would benefit myself and my family in the long term, I chose would be entrepreneurship.
Great. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. And it's, most of us are motivated because we're moving towards something or away from something. And
Correct.
it sounds like there's an element of moving away from the physical risk of the position that you had. And again, lots of people retire from that career and retire just fine. But it was an element, it sounds like, in your decision that contributed to you wanting to move towards something else.
Correct. The risk was one aspect of it, and then I believe the cap that comes with that type of job within itself, right? Because with business, I mean, as you're aware, right, the ceiling is quote unquote sky's the limit, right? As far as you can scale something as big as you can scale it. With your job, you can only, in essence, go as far as your positions allow, right? Whether it's lieutenant, captain, chief, fire chief, as those steps progress. And as I looked at the top level of what that looked like, and I pictured myself there, I go, okay, if I was to even make it there, right? If I was lucky enough to make there, if I was fortunate enough to make it that far along in my career, based off what they're making financially, based off what I see other individuals, do I feel like I'd be happy in that position? Are they living a life that I want to live? And ultimately the answer came to no. And that was my personal opinion.
Well, I think it's powerful because a lot of people are not willing to let go of the known for the unknown. And you embraced it. And I'm assuming that you couldn't walk the line anymore between the couple of businesses that you had started and were working in and having that W-2 role. So, I mean, something had to go, it sounds like.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it got to the point where instead of going to the actual fire station itself, I'd either have to find somebody to essentially take over my shift or hold for me or be there so I can go and be elsewhere, because I could, multiply myself into it. And I'm like, I found myself where instead of having to keep find somebody, I think it's, it's about time that I make that separation.
Okay. And that's great. So you had started what sounds like two businesses, or at least you had started one and joined with a partner in another type of business, but your focus now is on buying a business. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so why is that? And I think I know the answer, of course, but
Yeah.
maybe you can share with the audience. I mean, how'd that decision process come about? Because clearly you had been through the startup phase.
Yeah. And that is probably the number one reason why you ever consider purchasing already an existing business. It's as once you go through that startup phase in itself, right? And you go through those trials and tribulations and those growing pains and all that good stuff, you realize that it's once you look into acquiring a business that's already established, that already has a tried and true product, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? And I see that. And it doesn't have to be this fancy business. It doesn't have to be a SaaS company. It doesn't have to be solar, like, what's the newest and greatest right now. It just has to be something that you can operate yourself, or you can find an operator to do, that's already creating revenue, that's already bringing money into the business owner's pocket. And you can find at a price that makes sense for you. And to me, that made all the sense in the world. I like to think at everything as much logically as I can. I mean, we're emotional human beings in the end, but as logically as possible, I'm like, I mean, this makes 100% sense. If I can put some money down, get something that's already running, it's already proven because of its track record by doing due diligence, and I can acquire it and get it for myself, why would I not do that?
I love it. And I agree 100%. Clearly, because we've known each other for a while now, that I'm a huge advocate of how buying a business can accelerate the path to getting the outcome, and that starting businesses comes with so much uncertainty and unknown and hard to predict. So I'm a huge advocate of that. So a lot of our audience is in a similar position. Most of them have not left their W-2 job unless they've been downsized. We actually have quite a few people that have literally been forced from their career and are feeling the need to have to buy a business or get another career, which is a different challenge, right? It wasn't voluntary like in your situation. But if you would share with us, what are you finding in this process of trying to find a business? For some people, it can take a long, long time to find the right deal. What are you learning?
So coming along, I mean, getting into the space, you realize that we are in like an information pool, right? Like everything is flowing us from every direction. If you go on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever the social media is, everybody's going to teach you what's the best business to buy and when to buy it. And there's gurus all over the place. And that's what I've come up with, right? There's books for everything. And you read, whether it's Cody Sanchez or you listen to podcasts from you, right? Or you listen from anybody in the space. You're like, okay, well, what's the right one? What's the right one for me? And funny enough, up until the other day when you and I had the conversation, I was in the same position. I was like, man, I mean, I did the firefighter thing as soon as I got out of school. I started thinking, what skills did I actually pick up that maybe can translate into an already working business that isn't medical, that isn't fire related? What can I? And we came up together with. I did a very short. I'm not going to call it an internship. I was getting paid for it, but I was helping out a former. Oh, he's still a fireman now with a cleaning company. I was helping running a cleaning company, and then funny enough, you told me your upbringing, especially when it came to business acquisitions, business running, starting your business, was in the cleaning aspect, in the business cleaning and scaling those, and that to me made a lot of sense, because it's not about getting the prettiest business. It's not about getting it. It doesn't have to be sexy. The numbers have to be sexy per se, right? For it to make sense for you. But to me, that is what clicked in my head, right? It was something that was per se a low thought process needed. Like it just had to be like, if you go to a commercial building, are the desks clean? Is the trash taken out? That's how you keep a contract? Can we do that? And that's how you scale it. Can you find one that's already running? And to me, all of that made sense. So
Right.
where I was a little bit ago, like, with information all over the place, where do I even start? Where do I look? Is it biz by sell, or where am I looking at even for a business? This started giving me direction, at least where am I now circling in on? What is my quote unquote buy box? What is the price range I'm looking for? All these questions that I in my head, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I'm like, this business is profitable. I mean, they say they are. How do I even do that type of due diligence? So all that crosses your head when you're trying to get in the game.
Well, that's great. What you're describing is I've got a webinar coming up in about a month, and it's all about the buyer acquisition formula, which is really what you and I discussed when we talked in preparation for this podcast, which is, people contact me oftentimes, and a lot of people are just like, I want to buy a business. Well, what kind of business? Well, I heard laundromats are great. Okay, where do you need it? Anywhere. I mean, I just want a laundromat.
Yeah.
And that's almost like saying, I want to buy a house. Where? I don't care. What size house? Doesn't really matter. So some of the parameters that seem so intuitive when people are looking for a home, as an example, when it comes to finding a business, can keep them lost. It's just that without having those guardrails about what will work and what will serve you as an individual and what's appropriate as opposed to just a global potential industry, it can become all consuming and be very, very frustrating, which is, I think, part of what brought us together was, and what I was so impressed about by you is your inquisitiveness and hunger for information to help you get the outcome that you wanted is part of what jumped out at me when we first started talking. And it sounds like exactly what you're describing. You now have at least some direction to help hone in so you'll know it when you find it, as opposed to potentially too broad of a criteria to not even be able to achieve it. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm a very big proponent on the fact that success leaves clues, right? And I consider you a very successful person in your field, right? I mean, you've been in the business for over 20 years. You've concluded X amount of dollars in exits and in brokering companies. So for me, I'm not afraid to ask the questions because I know that it can, in quote unquote, compress time frames, right? And that's the one thing that we can't, what doesn't matter how much money you have, you can't buy more time, right? So if it takes you 10, if it takes you 10 years to learn the same thing it took me one by asking the right people and the right questions, I'm going to ask the questions every day, even if it makes me look dumb on the moment. Right at the moment, I might not look like the smartest person, but I'm going to pick up the right information that I need to move quicker, and that's what I did. I mean, I saw you, I saw what you were doing with the podcasting, I saw who you were working with, and I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy's in the field that I want to learn about. I'm like, all right, let's see who Matt is, and let's work together and see what we can do here.
Well, I appreciate that so much, and it's one of the things that I impressed about you. I don't remember what your age is, but I think some of the things
27.
you're just 27. Yeah. So some of the things you're describing about the way you're going about this is beyond your years, as I might suggest. To drive that point home, I've got a meeting with a client on Friday who's been actively looking for a business for 10 years. 10 years. That's a long time and a whole lot of time to try to work towards something without getting the outcome. And again, I do believe it comes down to some fundamental principles to be able to find what you're looking for. So what has your journey been like at this point? I know we talked a little over a month ago, and it sounds like you've got further direction, but what are you learning that you might be able to share with the audience that's in the same position you are potentially? What are you learning?
So and I don't think this is even just business buying, but in general, as long as you think that it's going to take for you to acquire a business, I think you can multiply that by 3 when it comes to the timing. If you think you're going to get today and be like, I like that business, it's at a good price, I'm going to acquire it tomorrow. Yeah, odds are that's not how that rolls. The due diligence process itself, actually seeing if it makes sense, because the last thing you want to do and the last thing I want to do is jump into something and commit myself to something that's either a sinking ship, something that I may have not analyzed enough, that might have been, some smoke and mirrors, and maybe I wasn't, I don't have the experience yet. So I didn't see something up front that maybe an experienced person like yourself would have seen. And I was so eager to get my first business that I took a loser, right? I took a charity case, in essence, just threw money at it and like, all right, let's see what happens. When I believe, my personal opinion in this game, this isn't about starting a charity, right? This isn't about throwing money at the losing horse. This is finding the winning horse already and saying, I want to purchase, I want to keep winning. and I want to maybe do it a little better.
That's great. Well, and part of what I've watched that can hinder or help people with what you're describing exactly is deadline pressure. And a lot of times that deadline pressure comes from financial pressure. I've worked with people who are buying businesses who unfortunately come to me and say, listen, if this thing doesn't close next month, I won't have the down payment anymore, because they're eating away at their down payment as they're getting ready to buy a business. And a lot of times they can't change that. Now, could they get a part-time job and then quit it? Or could they, I mean, those things, that's not easy to do. And rushing into buying a business, which for a lot of people is one of the biggest financial decisions they make, can be devastating if it's not done well or correctly. And so I acknowledge you for taking the time to find the right deal. And is that, if you don't mind me asking, is that creating a hardship for you financially? You're able to maintain some income in other ways?
Yeah, so I've fortunately enough, the markets that I'm taking on now, or at least the route that I'm doing now, 100% transparency, is the crypto markets. So
Okay.
luckily enough, fortunate enough for me, I got involved in some good projects, some good people behind it, and it's been able to at least sustain me throughout the way, in a way that I'm not, in essence, what they call FOMOing, right? So FOMO, fear of missing out, where it's like, oh, this business, I need it now, and if I don't get it now, somebody's going to take it off my hands. I feel like if you come up, that doesn't mean you don't move with urgency. I mean, I do believe in moving with urgency, because you're not going to, twiddle your thumbs around until the right thing lands in your lap. You're never going to acquire anything like that. But I do believe in, if it's the right time for you to acquire the business, it'll make sense. The timelines will make sense. And if you have active capital that is draining away, jumping into a business just because, it's running out and you're going to miss out the chance, I think it'll do you a worse time in the long run, because you'll end up making a decision out of pressure. And it might not even be the best one.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've created in your life the ability to let this process unfold without being forced to make a decision that might not serve you well.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a great position to be in. Again, so many of the people I work with, they've got, 4 kids at home and a house and a mortgage and whatever. And it creates a whole lot of stress. And
yeah, it's another situation that I get, at least I'm fortunate enough to be in myself, right? Everybody's in a different situation. So, like, to give you, I guess, a little bit of insight, no names itself, but you actually met him when we saw each other at one of the events
in Orlando.
He was next to me. Correct.
Yes,
correct. So he actually left the fire department as well.
Okay.
Has 2 kids at home, wife. So he's in a different position I am. I don't have kids yet. I do have a girlfriend at home, but he's got a wife and kids, right? So his roller coaster, we're both on the same roller coaster, but his is a little different, moving a little different than mine, because he's got other individuals to take care of, as do I with my family and stuff. But there's things you keep in mind. So for him, let's say, for example, going into business acquisition, which he's pursuing as well, he's got that to keep in mind, right? Whether it comes to bills, whether it comes to X, Y, Z, all those external factors that might play a part. You've got to keep those in mind as well. So I agree 100% with you in that case.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're going through the process the way you are. So now that you have some direction, at least in an industry that you think will serve you and is obtainable, what have you been doing to find one? Are you relying on bizbuysell.com and some of the international websites for promoting business opportunities? Are you going direct? How are you going about finding what you want?
So funny enough, I'm very big on the personal aspect, right? Like finding things, I believe, in person will yield you better returns than trying to find it in what I believe is saturated market online. Kind of like, for example, if I'm ever in a commercial building and I see somebody cleaning, I'll go up to them and ask them, hey, how many people do you work with? Hey, is this your business? Who you run with? And then they're usually pretty open about it. They're like, oh yeah, we have like 10 other employees. I'm like, okay, could I have the number of your boss? Like, could I talk to him? And I mean, we go to businesses daily. I mean, we go to commercial buildings, whatever the case may be. And then it doesn't hurt to go maybe towards the end of the day, and as the cleaning crews are coming in, just ask, because I think it's better than because at the moment that they get put online, there's always that margin of maybe the stats are off, maybe this are off, and that personal connection I feel like is lost, as opposed to you getting that direct number or even seeing them in person and then being like, oh, maybe this guy's, and you actually get a more genuine feel for the business itself. You get to see it live and happening in front of you, and you know that it's in the area. It's not a business, at least a first business. I'm not looking for it 10 counties over, or I'm not going to be able to oversee it, at least for the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Proximity is what I would call that. And proximity is important unless you're in a position to be able to move. Having a business located close enough that you can take care of it is a key component. So you're going direct, and I would speculate that you might be able to spend years trying to find a business online within the proximity that you need and the industry that you need. So that's a very viable approach. Have you had some success with that? Any leads that have developed into a potential opening for an acquisition?
As of right now, the ones that I've run into, funny enough, have been on the smaller end, right? Like the ones that I'm looking for, where I think I'm looking for a certain amount of employees already in it, maybe more than like 15 to 20 employees already working. A certain number. I know we spoke on the other time on what price ranges I'm looking as far as down payments goes and how much I want them to be making a year. So at least the ones that I've come across, I haven't come across like somebody like, let's say, inside of a college, kind of like over here one time. I think I was a couple of years back. It was like in the FIU building. FIU is Florida International University. Here, that's a very big contract, right? It's a very big place, and it's as secure as it gets. It's a college. So I haven't gotten a chance to get into one of those and start asking them. And I'm sure they have probably hundreds of employees at that point, which probably will be out of my buy range for now. But at least you start getting the spectrum of what it looks like, right? What they're actually doing. And the business owners, for the most part, are pretty open on like, yeah, I mean, now we do a couple 100,000 a year. I take home maybe like 50, 70K. That's kind of like my thing, you know?
Okay. But you're getting receptivity with the people you're approaching to share that information with you. And
sometimes not. So, sometimes it's a little closed off. I mean, the employees themselves might be like, we don't get what his number. Oh yeah, we're okay. I just got to get to work. I'm like, I understand it.
Yeah,
I understand. I mean, I'm the one bothering you for your boss's number.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe they think I'm trying to make a complaint or something, but that's so far what it's been like.
That's great. Well, I appreciate that. So what are you finding as the most difficult aspect of this right now? It's really identifying that subject business?
Yeah, it's identifying the business that's either ready for me to come in through the doors and say, all right, let me throw an offer down, or at least let me do some due diligence, some actual due diligence, right? And see what the actual numbers look like, not word of mouth, right? Because word of mouth is only going to go so far. Because once it comes down to what the papers look like, it might not be the prettiest business.
Well, that's a whole nother level, right? So the beginning would be finding the opening. And I still believe, based on the industry that you're targeting and the proximity, that it might be hard to find online. The one advantage of online, of course, is that they've already decided they want to sell. They've already put together a package and they're on the market. But some of those factors can be very limiting moving forward. So what's next for you? Are you going to change your approach to try to accelerate the process? You're going to keep doing what you're doing and that's comfortable? What's next?
I think in the meantime, the goal for me is to stack capital as much as possible and just widen the ability for me to purchase either a larger sized cleaning business, but continue the search. Because like I said, I'm not going to jump on the first one that comes in the door unless it's great. But I mean, it's most likely not going to be the first one that jumps in the door. I'll be looking at a couple. And then who knows, maybe I might run a couple by you and see what you think. You know, the expert in cleaning businesses,
Absolutely.
if you ever have the time. Yeah, I mean, in the meantime, like I said, I'm not pressured to make the jump right now. It's not like the funds are dripping away. So in the meantime, I'll just keep stacking capital. And if it comes to the point where I'll have a bigger down payment, then I'll just purchase a business. That's
great.
Acquire a bigger business. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing for sure that makes buying a business easier on all fronts is capital, right? Having more than you need makes the whole process a whole lot smoother. So considering that you have time during your search to continue to accumulate funds is a huge step in the right direction. And
Correct.
you've referred a couple times to my background in the industry. So Sarah and I have done a podcast on this, but I started out in the janitorial industry as a W-2 employee, and then started a business myself that I grew to 40 employees. So as you're sharing with our audience, that's my roots. And then I ended up selling that business to a gentleman who was had 5 kids and was a corporate executive, and left his corporate career to buy what I thought was just my little cleaning business. And it served him very well. That's actually how I got introduced to this whole concept of buying and selling businesses and helping people to do it. So yeah, it was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, that to me, when you told me that story, I mean, to me, I was like, that's the light bulb that needed to hit for me. I'm like, I mean, it doesn't have to be these crazy businesses. I mean, it's as simple as it gets. As long as you scale it and the money comes in the door, I mean, it's something that needs to get done no matter what. Dust is going to continue to pile up. Trash is going to continue to fill the trash can. Somebody needs to come and clean them. It's as simple as it gets, and it's as as you have the business experience, the scalability is there and the money's there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So one of the things I like to talk with people about is their team. And I know you're at the very beginning stages of your process, and I'd like to think, especially as we've gotten to know each other, I'm part of your team. Who else is on your team? Who do you have ready to support you if you need, once you find the right business? Have you gotten that far? Or?
Yeah, I mean, one of the individuals that I was speaking to you about earlier, so Jose, the one with the 2 kids, him and I originally got into this idea together. We were like, listen, I mean, we both left the fire department. We were both in this the business funding together as well, and we want to do business acquisition. So we joined the Aspire together. We got in contact. So we're like, listen, let's pursue this route. So somebody that I consider on my team ready to go for sure is him. By the name of Jose, he's ready to go.
That's great.
And as far as my team goes, my family back home. Yeah. I mean, they're, as far as support system goes, I feel like everything you do, you've got to have some level of support behind you, some level of support, and that I can thank them and count on them eyes closed.
Yeah. Well, when we talked in preparation for this episode, your family keeps coming into the conversation, and I so much appreciate how important your family is to you, and your background and connection there. And one of the things that I talk with all of my podcast guests about is somebody who's given them a hand up. None of us got where we are on our own. In my life, there's been dozens of people who literally saw something in me that I might not have seen in myself and took the time to help me get a step ahead or give me some advice. Who in your world, and maybe it's family, maybe it's somebody else, but who in your world has given you a hand up to get you where you are and where you want to go, you think will be influential?
Yeah, I'm going to go and say my parents 100%. And between my mother and father, I mean, they came to a country that they didn't know the language, they didn't know English. They brought 2 kids with them, one that was 9 months old, another one that was 13 years old. And, they were on we had an apartment, but it was pretty much like, hey, you got bills next month. And you got 2 kids ready to go. So for me, seeing that, right, growing up, mother working, 2 jobs, father as well, seeing that gave me that fire in me to say, listen, they did this, they made this sacrifice. They could have easily stayed over there. They brought me over here to give me the opportunity to be able to be where I am today. Right? I would not be where I am today in, being able to take hold of these opportunities if it wasn't for the risk that they took.
It's amazing.
Right. So the conversations I've had, for example, with my father, right, being able and seeing as a kid coming up where food was never missing on the table. Right. Like I never knew what was going on behind the scenes until I got older. Right, where I was actually able to come in and contribute and help them out. And, fortunately enough today, I'm able to pay the bills for them, right? Do for them as they did for me when I was growing up. So I take care of them. when they took care of me my whole life. And I think that I owe them much more, which is,
Yeah.
that's what my goal is,
Yeah.
right? To pursue this business acquisitions and grow, whether it's crypto and stack capital and take them out on vacations and do things like that, because that's what they deserve. That's what they did for me and brought me to a place where I can flourish. So as far as giving me the hand up, I mean, my father was the first entrepreneur I knew,
Wow.
right? The all-around handyman. The guy did plumbing, housework, any carpentry, cars, anything you can think of, that guy can put a hand on and do it. And seeing that firsthand and somehow, keeping the lights on and a roof over our head, that to me says, if, that guy took the risk of moving countries. I'm like,
Wow.
I can take a risk. I can take a risk of leaving my W-2.
Well, it's pretty amazing and a very powerful story. And I can really connect with your story from a standpoint of the sacrifice that your parents took on and the risk that they took on for a better life for you and your family, and how you're helping to support them now. It seems that buying a business and finding that opportunity for yourself is not just a motivation or something you'd like to do. It sounds more like a mission and a purpose that's far beyond just you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's bigger than me.
Yeah, that's powerful. Well, I really appreciate that about you and your story and how that's driven you to where you are. And I'm excited to see what shows up next for you in this journey. One last question. Yeah, one last question for you. So knowing what you know now, which it always amazes me what I don't know as I start something, knowing what you know now in this process, any words of wisdom for our audience about what you might do different had you to do it all over again? This process of trying to search for a business to buy?
If I had to start it all over, yeah. One would be, which was, I gave it a little bit at the beginning. It was, don't listen to every single person that comes across you. Not everybody's an expert.
Interesting.
I think the track record speaks volumes.
Okay.
That's why the moment that I came across you and I heard your track record and I heard what you've actually done, it's different than going to somebody that's like, yeah. I mean, I'm doing this business acquisition thing. I'm like, oh, great. How many have you acquired so far? No, yeah, I'm still learning. I'm still, I'm in the process of it. I'm like, so you haven't acquired a single business yet? No. It's like, but I can. So, not to discount everything they know, but it's your track record speaks for you. So if it's anything, I would be watch who you listen to, because everybody's full of opinions, and everybody is going to tell you and put onto you as well their doubts and their opinions of themselves. They'll put them on you, and it might not be something that pertains to you, but you might take it because maybe that person you look up to, maybe they're a peer to you. So that might hinder you in the process or might slow you down because you're taking their opinion as word, as law.
That's great. Yeah. And I think built into that, there's just only so much we can focus on, right? And if we dilute our energy in areas that aren't going to help us get where we want to go, it can take a whole lot longer and also not help us get the result. So those are great. Some more words of wisdom. I appreciate you sharing for the audience.
Yeah. I mean, you pick up a couple things here and there. I guess taking the wrong steps is what I guess I'll label it as, right? If somebody comes along and is able to tell you, hey, 10 steps down the road, there's going to be a pothole, don't fall in it. I think that goes a long way.
That's worth listening to.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you joining us. When we first met on the Aspire webinar that I was hosting, you rose to the top as somebody with some horsepower, in my opinion, that you used the term fire. I could see it and I heard it and I admire it. So I am certainly part of your team and excited to help you in any way I can to get what you're looking for yourself and your family, and honor your journey. Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your words, and it means a lot more to me than you think.
Oh, well, that's amazing. So yeah, thank you again.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for joining us on another episode of What's Your Deal? I hope you've learned a lot from Cristian. There's so many words of wisdom in what he shared today and what's behind what he's after. I have no question he will get where he desires to go to fulfill his desires and those of his family. We'll see you on the next episode. And that's a wrap on today's episode. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and got some valuable insights into the world of buying and selling businesses. Want to be a guest on our show? If you have a deal that you'd like to discuss with us or a business story to share, we'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email using the contact information below in the episode notes, and let's make this happen. Never miss an episode. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you found today's episode helpful, please leave us a review. It helps more people like you find the show.